Hello, welcome to this video series on MDX for SQL developers. I'm Nasir Ali Mirza at DoSQLBI.com. The next item to cover is commonly used time functions in MDX. Some of them that we'll take a look at is week-to-date, month-to-date, quarter-to-date, year-to-date, and the parallel period. Parallel period, we also got a glimpse of that in the named members and the named set where we did a trend query. Let me switch to SQL Management Studio. I have this query which is year-to-date. So what this basically means is this year-to-date will give you the set that you define where that what should be the end. So we define here the end should be August 2008 and rest it is a normal like any other MDX query. So I run this query. So what it did is it automatically saw that the end is mentioned as August 2008. So the year is 2008. Now year to date means it started from the first month of that year to which the month belonged, and then it showed us the results from the first month to the month mentioned as an end in the year to date query. There are various versions of the same. Sometime you want to see year to date, month to date, and quarter to date. We'll see some other examples. There is another variation of the same query. Now in this one we used the year to date. There is another function which is periods to date. Now this periods to date, we don't it can be used for year to date, quarter to date, week to date, all variations of that function. But what you do is you first define for what period do you want to see. Now what do we do here is we use periods to date is the same query as the above one, and then we again say August 2008 where it should end. Now if I run this second query, the results would be again same. I see from January 2008 to August 2008. So sometime it is helpful if we want to build a dynamic query and then we want to decide at the runtime whether we want to run it year to date or month to date or week to date or quarter to date. So that's how you would use this periods to date. Let's continue. This one is about quarter to date. Now in this quarter to date function, we again define the name of the month. Now what it is going to do is it will see in which quarter does August belong. And then from the first month of that quarter till what the end date is mentioned, it's going to give us the results. Let's run this query. So it started from July and it ended in August. Now to kind of give you a feel, if I say instead of August, if I say, let's say June, and we run this query again, it's giving me from that June falls in quarter second, it starts from April. So it gives me in that quarter from the first month of the quarter to whatever we have put in as an end. And a variation of the same query when we use the periods to date is again we mention what the period is. So we say here it's quarter and then rest would remain same. If I run this query also, we'll get result like this. So there's no data for this, so we're getting all the nulls only. Let's continue. Now we have the months to date. As you would have expected, in months to date, it will be from the beginning of the month to the date that you mentioned of that month. So what we are saying here is we want to see the data set result that ends at March 10 and it starts from the beginning of that month. So we get from March 2nd the data until that date, which is March 10th. Another variation of the same query is with the periods to date. Again we mentioned the last day of the month and then we say that we want it for a month. Let's run this variation as well. We should see the same results. It starts from March 2nd and it ends at March 10th. After seeing year to date, quarter to date, month to date, we'll now take a look at week to date. Now for this week to date, I had to do some modification to the AdventureWorks database design. Let me quickly show you what that modification was. When I go to this hierarchy, which is date dimension, date calendar, this week was not in this hierarchy. Something that you could see, for example, something that you could see here, that date rolls up directly to the month in the date physical, and then to quarter, and so on. Same was the case for date calendar, that date was rolling directly to month. I had to add this in the hierarchy here, which is, I had to just modify the AdventureWorks database design and make the necessary relationships. Now once that was in place, I could run this week to date. So what again week to date is, I'm giving a particular date. What the week to date would do is see the first day of that week and to the date that I have mentioned. Let's run this query and see what we get. So when I said January 9th weeks to date, the first day of the week was January 6th, and then so on, it gave me the result. And the variation to use with periods to date, again as with other to date functions, if I run this, I got the result from January 6th to January 9th. The next one we will take a look at is the last periods. I have two examples for that. Now look at this last periods. I am specifying a particular date, which is calendar year April 30, 2008, and I say show me the last 35 periods. Let's run this query. So if you see, the end is April 30th. Because the granularity given was a day, it goes and shows of that granularity up to 35 periods back, so which is at the day level. If I want a different granularity, look at this. I mention here year 2008 and I want to see last 3. Because we have defined the granularity as year, the results expected should be the last 3 years. Now let's run this query. So as you see, it's shown the results for 2008, 7 and 6. So this is also a very useful function, that last periods, what you want to see for your various reporting requirements. Let's continue with the last two we have, that is opening period and the closing period. In this query, what you see is we have defined the period as quarter, and we want to see what was the want to get a member which was second quarter of 2007. Let's run this query. So this was the opening period member that it got for 2007 second quarter. If I change it to 2008, we got a different, what was a quarter 2 of calendar year 2008, the opening period. The way we have opening period, we have similarly closing period. Let's run this query. Let's say I want to see for 2007, maybe for quarter 4. So it returns that particular member. Switch back to our presentation. So we covered what are commonly available and used time related functions, which are very powerful and commonly used for the reports that we build using MDX queries. I'm Nasir Ali Mirza at DoSQLBI.com. Thanks.